Disclaimer. This episode may contain language and adult situations that aren't appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. This episode also contains spoilers for the series Tokyo Revengers and possibly other anime, film, and manga properties. Keep this in mind as you listen. And finally, opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and may not reflect those of the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. So with that out of the way, sit back and enjoy tonight's episode, Tokyo Revengers. Hello, fellow thugs and crooks, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dub Talk, where a bunch of nerds get together and talk about the latest and greatest in English dubs and voiceover. I am your host tonight, Patrick, aka Roots. Joining me today is none other than Lilac.
The only reason why you're in charge is because you won fucking Rochambeau, and I'm still pissed about it.
Damn right. Straight I did.
God.
And we also have Jet.
Fight.
Fight pit!
We're going... This is sounding like a mosh pit all of a sudden. God damn. That was great.
Well, tonight, if you couldn't guess from us bringing on our tough selves, the show we will be covering is none other than Tokyo Revengers. Last year's hit crime drama about time-traveling motorcycle punks.
Shit be cray. Or as Hanma says at one point, bat shit cray cray. You bet your ass I wrote that down.
So I have a plot description in front of me, courtesy of Anime News Network. Watching the news, Takemichi Hanagaki learns that his girlfriend from way back in middle school, Hinata Tachibana, has died. The only girlfriend he ever had was killed by a villainous group known as the Tokyo Manji Gang. He lives in a crappy apartment with thin walls, and his 6 years younger boss treats him like an idiot. At the height of his rock-bottom life, he suddenly time leaps 12 years back into his middle school days. To save Hinata and change the life he spent running away, hopeless part-timer Takemichi must aim for the top of Kanto's most sinister delinquent gang.
Yeah, that's quite a premise. But I feel like you made a mistake there, Roots. It's not the Tokyo Magic Gang, it's just the Tokyo Gang.
I mean...
Weird censorship!
I mean... This is also known as the Tokyo Manjino Gang, if I pronounced the name correct, because fucking Mikey!
It's gonna...
Because Mikey comes up with lame names.
Actually, you both are wrong. It's the Tokyo, my eyes, I'm blind gang.
It's gonna be funny when they have to show how the flag got forward and they just like...
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
Man, if there's ever a home video release for this one, I'm curious to know what the fuck they're gonna do with it.
I mean, Japan got an uncensored broadcast. We didn't.
So in any case, since we are talking about a show about gangs, in order to make a dub, you kinda need a gang of people. This is our ADR crew. Unfortunately, due to the nature of in which Crunchyroll casts announces their cast and staff, we only have one name. That is the name of our ADR director, which is David Walsh. You would know him from such works as the ADR sequences for Power Rangers, the seasons Turbo through Wild Force.
Okay.
He did work on Digimon, and a little bit of a deep cut Techno Man, which is the English language version of an anime known as Tekkaman Blade.
Ooh, that is a very deep cut.
I've never heard of that one before, I don't think.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, literally the only reason I know what Tekken Blade is because I own Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, which is a very criminally underrated game.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
you
never
lucky.
heard of this. I've never heard of this before in my life.
I'm holding on to my copy of that game forever. You can't take it from me.
Meanwhile, Jet in the corner. My precious. But, as a side note, when we talk Digimon, we're talking like the OG Digimon, correct?
Yes, digital monsters.
Okay. So...
which is actually kind of in... I bring that up for a very interesting point. If you really stop and think about it, the dub for Tokyo Revengers kind of had that mid-2000s Saban feel to it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Oh, actually it does. And it works very well given the fact that time travel is involved and most of the series takes place in 2005? 2005.
Yeah.
The
yes.
quote-unquote present day is like 2017, so it's 12
Yep.
years. So that makes a lot of sense.
There is a pretty decent amount of colorful language in this show. Much of it actually ripped straight from Crunchyroll subtitles, in fact, which is kind of surprising.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't watch the Japanese, so...
I did watch a fair chunk of it in Japanese. It's not like... Obviously, it's not a direct one-for-one, but, like, a surprising amount of the colorful language was actually just, like, in Crunchyroll subtitle track to begin with.
Interesting.
I'm about to say, because I really do... This is probably more on the credit of the writer, whoever our mystery writer is. I really loved the slang and, like, the, like, thug gangster talk that was used in there. Like, because this is a group of fucking punks.
And the thing I like about it is it doesn't necessarily date anything.
Exactly, and I like that.
I was about to mention that. Like, they use a lot of slang. Yeah, they use a lot of slang and swears, but it doesn't sound like it would belong to, like, any... Okay, at the very least, it's not, like, super modern slang, but it's not, like, super old either. It's kind of like, I can believe these teenagers could use these specific swear words in, like, 2005.
Yeah, it kind of hits that nice little sweet spot, really. That nice little sweet spot, which makes this dub much more accessible to really, like, almost any generation, whether it's mid-2000s or even now, honestly. So...
Yeah, there is only one minor complaint I have here with the language. Mm-hmm. There were no F-bombs.
Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
I mean, I understand why that's a little disappointing, but I also kind of like
it is similar to the whole like situation with Ryuji Persona 5. It is very clear they want the character to use the F-bomb. There are even a couple of points where Takemichi says something along the lines of like F this or whatever, but he can't say the exact word. It's like, just let him do it. You just let him do it, guys.
What's hilarious is, you guys have heard about that video of panty and stocking, but it's only them saying fuck every
Oh yeah, there's also one for Black Lagoon.
Right. Like, you could say, you could do something similar, and I'm wondering if this exists yet or not, where every time in Tokyo Revengers someone says shit. Because that is the farthest of the hard language that we get is the word shit. And it's constant. So it's like, come on, just one F-bomb. Just the one. I'll be satisfied.
Honestly wondering if at some point before, the whole Crunchyroll, Funimation, like, super merger thing happened, if there were, like, actual plans for this to go on, like, Adult Swim, because it certainly showed up on HBO Max.
There's nothing stopping that from happening anyway.
About to say, there's no reason why it wouldn't end up on there eventually. Honestly, I think it would have a fun time on Toonami. But I think the other point, though, despite all of the hard-hitting punk kind of gang kind of stuff, this show, it doesn't stray away from comedy. Because there are some fun comedic moments in there. Most of them are a comedy of errors, 9 times out of 10, which is great.
Yep.
I really think it should be commended for the directing, the writing, and also the actors themselves, you wouldn't think that there is, but there's a lot of really hard-hitting emotional moments in the show.
Yeah. One thing I really have to commend, particularly with the script writing with our unknown writer, is this show goes through a lot of emotional whiplash.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have really sublime moments, kind of... The rug is absolutely pulled out from under you multiple times, and... Like, everybody just gets shellacked with all of this awful shit that ends up going down. And one thing I absolutely have to commend is when the show is meant to be funny, it is very snappy, very bantery, very realistic to an extent. I don't know how, like, teenage street punks in Japan would treat each other, but
I don't know.
Okay. No, I was gonna bring this up until now, but like this show is very similar to. Okay, this is gonna be a weird cut, but this show is very similar to Saint Seiya, where like you have to suspend or like it takes a surprising amount of suspension of disbelief to believe these characters are like 13 or 14-year-olds.
True.
Listen, you have to suspend your disbelief with how the fucking time travel horse shit works, alright? We already have to suspend our disbelief with that.
Look, I don't know anything about Japanese motorcycle laws, but I'm just saying I don't think 14-year-olds would be running around with motorcycles.
They weren't even 14! Because remember, there are flashbacks where the youngest people, which I think is like Baji, Kazutora, and Pa, are like fucking 12. I don't think that's how motorcycle law works in Japan, but it may have been in mid-2000s. I don't know.
Sure.
No, not mid-2000s, like early 2000s, really. For that case. Like, Jesus. Like, alright, Japan. Shit, why aren't we doing that here in America?
And then when it decides to punch you in the gut, it feels like raw emotion.
Or when it wants to, stab you in the back.
Oh.
I had to! We know I had to.
Or the gut. Or...
Mostly in the back.
Any of the other... Or upside the head.
Oh, yeah, with the middle pipe, yeah. A few times. Poor Mikey. Poor Mikey and poor Baji.
Sometimes the emotions hit you like a semi.
or a train. Like in the first episode for Takemichi.
Yeah.
Or a fucking Humvee, I guess. I don't know. I don't even remember what that car was halfway through. I fucking smushed Hinata. A Humvee, maybe?
Okay, I just realized something.
It was definitely a Hummer of some kind.
It looked like it, yeah. What's up?
I just realized something awful.
Oh no. What?
Oh boy, does Tokyo Revengers one-up Truck-kun.
In like more ways than one.
Train-kun!
Hummer-kun! Pipe-kun, even!
And he did least of all, Gun-kun.
Knife-kun. Oh, Lordy.
But I think we can generally come to the consensus, though, that... Oh, yeah, actually, you know what? There is one complaint that I actually have.
Oh, I have a complaint, too. I'm wondering if it's the same.
It's kind of a rampant problem with particularly Studiopolis dubs, and that is the double and sometimes triple casting with the secondary and tertiary cast.
Or in one person's case, I'm pretty positive quadruple.
I will say it is definitely not as bad as Jujutsu Kaisen.
It's at least not as noticeable as it was with
which
is good.
At the very least, it's not like named characters who are doubled up.
Right.
So, like,
well, hold on. We can't even say that. Because there's one case in particular It's not
Yeah, I think there's
confirmed.
a couple of younger versions of some characters played by actors in the main cast, and then there are, like, secondary and wall characters also played by main cast members.
Well, there's one actor who I'm pretty positive has played 4 or 5 roles in this, including one of the Tomon captains, potentially one of the antagonists from an upcoming arc, maybe, because it's a leader of like a rival gang or some shit, and then at least a couple of minor characters. And this is an actor who can be very distinct. It's just enough of a difference that you.
I mean, my one counterpoint is that it is early enough that they might get recast for 1 or 2 of those roles anyway. But I guess we'll see what happens.
We'll see. And I mean,
because Studiopolis can be kind of like on and off with that. So
like, it's not as egregious as Jujutsu Kaisen, where I think there was like 2 or 3 instances of Keith Silverstein interacting with himself as different characters.
Oh yeah, that's
the principal versus the principal and Mekamaru thing is like.
Oh yeah. That's a bad one.
Like, it's not as egregious as that, but it's still noticeable enough.
Mm-hmm.
It is a problem.
Especially with at least the actor that I'm thinking of in my head, where he potentially has to, I'm thinking, play twins? Maybe? Question mark? At one point? Because, again, this goes back to one of the Tomon captains, and then what looks to be, like, a twin? We don't see that twin, like, we only see that twin, like, maybe for, like, a split second, but it's like,
To be fair, designs also kind of blend at times.
Yeah.
This one is noticeable.
Yeah.
Floofy hair, be either pink or blue.
Yeah. The one other thing I will say is that, like, why do you think that it hit all the moments it needed to? There were, like, a few points where I thought the narrative could be, like, a little shaky every now and then, maybe, like, a few awkward line reads here and there. It wasn't, like, you know... I mean, it wasn't, like, you know, too tragic or anything, but it did kind of have that weird mid-2000s quality in that sense as well.
Yeah. But honestly, like...
In this
I'm
case,
willing
I
to
think
give
it kind of adds a little charm to it in that respect.
Yeah. Yeah, that was basically where I was going to go with it. I can give it a free pass to an extent because specifically 2005 is a major plot point in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and at least there's enough of a difference in distinction and some language between 2005 Japan versus the 2017, aka present in the show. So it's enough of a difference to make it distinct, I guess. I didn't have as much of an issue of it. I honestly liked this dub more than I thought I was going to, and the show in general. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, I like it. But I think the directing is solid, minus, like, a couple of minor issues, but...
Yeah, I mean, if all we have to really... Like, if our only critique is, like, little nitpicks, like, you're doing something right.
Right.
I will say the dub did hold up better upon, like, my rewatch, so, like, that is a plus.
Same for me, too. It held up a lot better when I rewatched it.
Yeah. Alright. So with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and start introducing the characters. I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. If you've listened to our Otherworld Picnic episode, or any of the other Dub Talk Retro episodes that Noah has done, you might get a general sense of how I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna introduce everybody at once, but we're really gonna talk about a handful of characters at a time.
Okie doke.
So I'm going to go ahead and start with who we're going to be covering with Valhalla and Mobius. We have Nobutaka Osanai, formerly one of the acting leaders of the gang. He leaves after he's stabbed, but also provides critical information about Teite Kiseki, both in both in sort of interrogations in 2005 and in 2017. They basically provide important clues that help, Takemichi figure out a little bit more about this guy. And while we're on the subject, Takemichi is a former member of Mobius, more or less sort of a hidden leader within the group, and after Tomon wins a fight with them, he is brought into their ranks as the 3rd Division captain, basically to bolster the ranks of Tomon and foster good relations between the two gangs.
As a fun side note, the only reason why Kiseki is now the 3rd Division captain is because the 3rd Division captain, known as Pa, got his ass arrested for stabbing Osanai. So there is a very complicated... Kiseki has a complicated plan involved here, and he's involved in that, so...
And he's orchestrated all of this shit. Mm-hmm. Not only has he orchestrated his rise within both Mobius and Tomon, he has also orchestrated the murder of Hinata Tachibana at least twice so far in the story.
Yep, as far as we know of.
Successfully, mind you.
Yup, Kiseki's, fucking rat bastard.
Also, I'm just gonna throw this out because it's in my notes. Mm-hmm. Even at the end of where the first season ends, I have a very strong suspicion, but can't confirm, that his 2017 self is actually to some degree aware that Takemichi is able to time travel.
I was literally waiting the entire show for the shoe to drop that, he can time travel too. I literally thought that was going to be the cliffhanger.
That's my guess as well.
Yeah, I mean, because there are, like, a few... I mean, because there definitely are, like, a few... Well, actually, not even subtle. It's, like, very few... There are definitely clues scattered around that kind of makes it aware that Kiseki is at least somewhat aware of what Takemichi's doing. Or is at least immediately suspicious of him.
He at least knows that Takemichi knows something. That's
he knows that Takemichi knows something, and he was also there during, like, during a couple of key events where it would be weird for him to be there unless he was, like, actively onto Takemichi.
True.
Yeah.
We need more seasons. Let's go, Japan.
Yeah. Continuing down my list, we've got Shuji Hanma, who was an enforcer for the Mobius Street Gang, later made acting leader of the Valhalla Gang, and then after the fight with the Valhalla Gang, he is brought into Tomon.
And in 2017,
again,
he's
orchestrated by Teita Kiseki.
Right, and in 2017, he's part of the upper echelon for Tomon at that point.
Yep. We have Kazutora Hanamiya. He's a founding member of Tomon and one of another character, Baji's, oldest friends. He turns his back on the gang when a simple heist for a motorcycle turns tragic. And his death is the trigger point for Hinata's second murder.
Yep.
And then we also have Atsushi Sendo, who is one of Takemichi's best friends. He becomes involved with Tomon after the events Takemichi alters. And he was personally involved in the pushing Takemichi into a train. Mm-hmm. Like, he was the one who actually pushed him. And in the second timeline, he murders Hinata by running a Hummer into her car.
Hummer-kun. Vroom, vroom.
And moving on to the Tokyo Manji Gang, we have Manjiro Sano, aka Mikey. He's the commander of the Tokyo Manji Gang. He's carefree in 2005, but he grows absolutely reckless in the first two 2017 timelines, and in the third, they bring up in the final episode, he's just flat out gone, and nobody knows where he is. Mm-hmm. And Takemichi's goal in life is to rise to the ranks of leader of Tomon in order to save Mikey from himself.
Yep.
And then we have Kenryu Guji, aka Draken, also aka Best Boy of the Show. He is Tomon's second in command and Mikey's best friend. In the first timeline, his death is the trigger point for the first set of murders with Hinata and Takemichi. We have Keisuke Baji, who is the leader of Tomon's 1st Division, who defects for Valhalla, more or less to investigate the goings-on of Teita Kiseki. Because he gets the feeling something very, very sketchy is going on with that guy.
Yep.
But he has to keep it a secret from just about everyone. But there is someone who figures out what's going on, and that is Chifuyu Matsuno. He's Baji's second-in-command of Tomon's 1st Division. He's also trying to gather intel on Teita Kiseki. He's kind of unaware that Baji's doing his own thing, so he's trying to save Baji. Baji's trying to figure out what's going on with Kiseki. And it's just all this big mess of misunderstanding that ultimately leads to Baji's death.
Poor Baji.
Alright, and next up we have the Tachibanas, Hinata and Naoto. Hinata is Takemichi's girlfriend in 2005, and her murder is basically the linchpin to get all of this time travel shenanigans started. And Naoto is sort of the trigger point for Takemichi's ability. They shake hands, Takemichi goes to the past. When he's in the past, he shakes hands with past Naoto, he goes back to the future. He is a cop in 2017, and he's trying to get to the bottom of Hinata's murder and basically keep it from happening in the first place.
Yep.
Which is also the objective of our protagonist, Takemichi Hanagaki. A 26-year-old washout who gains the ability to time travel 12 years in the past. And he joins Tomon with the intent of becoming its leader in order to save Hinata. Whew, there we go.
That's a lot of people. And that's not even scratching the surface. That's at least the major characters of this season.
Like, that's just the characters with enough that we can cover tonight.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more.
Let me run down this list of actors.
So, are we starting with Valhalla and Mobius?
Yeah. I'm basically going to just run all the way up.
Alright. Let's go.
So, Atsushi Sendo is played by John Omahundro. You would know him from such things as Yusuke Tashiro in Noblesse, and Danny Vasquez in the Western cartoon Bravest Warriors.
Okay.
Kazutora Hanamiya is played by Joe Zeja, who you would know from such characters as Bumblebee in Transformers War for Cybertron, Hizumaru in Katsugeki Token Rambu, and the writer of Red in Fate Apocrypha. Shuji Hanma is played by Zeno Robinson. You would know him as Hawks from My Hero Academia, Remy from the Western cartoon Big City Greens, and Brawler in Akudama Drive. Teita Kiseki, we have a feeling we know who he is, but as of right now, he is uncredited. So, unfortunately, can't name past roles because we don't know who's playing him, but he's important enough that we have to cover him. Nobutaka Osanai is played by Keiji Tang. You would know him as Archer in Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works and Heaven's Feel. He's Big G in the Stand By Me Doraemon films. Also the Doraemon cartoon series, but I don't know if that's streaming anymore. And Goro Yadagarasu in Lupin the Third Part 5. Chifuyu Matsuno is played by Adam MacArthur. You would know him as Yuji Tadori in Jujutsu Kaisen, Ricky and Patrick in Shadow's House, and Marco Diaz in the Western cartoon Star in the Forces of Evil. Keisuke Baji is played by Lucian Dodge. You would know him as Akaza in Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. He is Waver Velvet or Lord El Malloy II, depending on which ones you watch. In Fate Zero and the Lord El Malloy II Case Files. He's also Amuro Ray in the Mobile Suit Gundam Origin reboot, and also Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. Whew. Draken is played by Sean Chiplock. You would know him as Rivali in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Subaru Natsuki in ReZero, and Yuki Mashima in Persona 5. Mikey is played by Alex Lee. You would know him from such roles as Kaiman in Dorohedoro, Seijiro Akashi in Kuroko's Basketball, and Zenitsu Agatsuma in Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. Naoto Tachibana is played by Griffin Putau. You would know him as Lewis in Beastars, Hop in Pokemon Twilight Wings, and Natsusa Yukazi in number 24. I hope I got that name right. Hinata Tachibana is Lizzie Freeman. You would know her as Trishuna in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind, Cardinal in Sword Art Online Alicization, and Kotoko Iwanaga in Inspector. And finally, mainly the reason I'm hosting this episode in the first place, because I promised him I would do it.
It's true.
Takemichi Hanagaki is played by AJ Beckles. You would know AJ Beckles from such roles as Joko Love in the 2021 reboot of Shaman King, Shiki Tadamaru in Kimono Jihen, and Musashi in the currently in production dub of Orient. Alright, so how this is going to work is I'm going to basically separate this into Mobius Valhalla, Tokyo Manji Gang, Protagonist, and we're gonna probably spend like a half an hour on each.
Okay. Let's do it.
So let us begin with Mobius and Valhalla.
So that's Osanai, Kiseki, Hanma, Kazutora, and Akun, correct?
Yes, I have things kind of sectioned out, so it should be...
Yeah,
If you've got...
that sounds
Yeah, I feel like we could probably start with Osanai first. That's probably the quickest conversation.
Probably. He's not in there too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's KG Tang. I mean, has KG Tang ever turned in a bad performance? Not really, no.
No.
But the thing I really like about Osanai is KG Tang really gets the sort of... the performance arc of fucking around and finding out.
Yes.
I definitely do love the contrast between his younger self and his older self.
Yeah. Because...
Like, not just his younger self and his older self, his younger self, his second timeline past self, and then his first timeline future self.
We have essentially there are 3 major interactions with Osanai. There's 2017 present Osanai, at least during the first half of the show, where Takemichi and Naoto are doing some investigating about the incident on August 3rd, where Draken is murdered, and that's what happened in the first timeline. And they meet 2017 Osanai, who is this pathetic washout, similar to Takemichi at the start of the show, essentially. And then you go back to 2005, right before the August 3rd incident, where you get to meet younger Osanai, who is this punk, like, cocky little shit, and it's great. And then you have, once Draken is saved in that timeline, you have, around the Bloody Halloween incident, where Takemichi and Chifuyu are doing some investigation into Kiseki. And this is where Osanai's a bit more relaxed. He's not as much of a punk, confident self.
And he's just trying to get his shit back together.
Right. He's trying to, like, get himself on the right track again. Especially after all the shit he dealt with Kiseki. Because Kiseki's a snake.
Oh, yeah.
He's a fucking snake.
I mean, also, I imagine getting sad would probably, make you rethink your life choices.
Just a bit.
I would think so.
Just a bit.
I would very much think so.
I would hope so, for Osanai's sake. But no, like, those are 3 different distinct moments in Osanai as a character. And KG 100% was able to portray each of those integral moments, not just for exposition or plot purposes, but to showcase Osanai's progression.
Yeah, so, and the part I like about it the most is you maybe spend about 10 minutes with each of his selves, and you get that complete sort of character arc with him.
Yeah, that was very fascinating. Again, that Casey did a good job of that.
God, I really wish we had an actor to go with Teita Kiseki, and I hope this person is, like, listening to this episode, because, man...
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will say if it is okay. I will say if it is that person, I'm definitely a little surprised. I'm not. I definitely never heard that actor do a villain role before. I mean,
Yeah.
I've only heard him as like protagonist, and maybe like the most antagonistic thing they've done is maybe being a like rival-ish character on like an enemy team or something, but not like the big bad.
Yeah, because Kiseki is set up, as far as we know of, as the main villain of the entire thing.
And I mean, you look at the final episode of the series where he's basically like shooting Takemichi in the leg and Chifuyu in the head.
Headshot.
So, I will say. Yeah, I will say I do think he. I don't want to say he needed time to like get into character per se, but I will say I did think like he had like maybe a couple of like shaky line reads in the beginning, maybe like trying to figure out exactly, I guess, like how gruff or intimidating he needed to sound in any particular moment.
Yeah.
But I think like by the time we got to like the bloody Halloween battle, he had like a good handle on what he wanted to do, and from there was pretty solid.
Yeah, because we don't even hear Kiseki talk until the second half of the show, where he gets introduced as the new 3rd Division captain for Tomon. The only other time we see him is either one in pictures at Naoto's place, or a brief run-in as like Takemichi and him are passing by each other. And even then, Kiseki doesn't really say anything.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's his like 2 lackeys that end up saying more, but
there was like one brief conversation he has where I guess where I guess was like right before the present, where apparently he ordered Draken to commit some kind of murder, and that was like the first time we ever heard him voiced.
There is that.
But otherwise that's basically it until the second half.
No, you're right, because Takemichi and Naoto finds out that Draken's on death row for some sort of murder, and they go to visit him, and we have that small flashback from Draken about him killing someone, and then Kiseki saying something to him. So yeah, that is the first time we hear him. But like, no, we didn't. We spent like the first half of the show not really getting anything. I think the first half, more for the purposes of the show, I think is more to establish not just Takemichi's role in this, but I think to establish Mikey and Draken more than anything in the first half, which makes a lot of sense given like, because the relationship between Mikey and Draken is a huge thing throughout the course of the first season. So if that's not like given the time to establish the importance of that, it's gonna fall apart. So it makes a lot of sense for that to be established. But no, Kiseki's a fucking snake. He's a fucking snake. I hate him, but that means he's really good.
I will say like something. I will say something good music and kind of. I don't know if suspicious, but that's something I kind of found like interesting. Isn't even like necessarily the character itself, but that's kind of like, boy, the man goes through a lot of hairstyles over the course of the show.
You're right.
Yeah.
Like
because the supposed early Kiseki, we find out through Osanai's flashback during Chifuyu and Takemichi's investigation, and how like Osanai first meets Kiseki, and he looks like this super fucking nerd. Like the black hair, just like
unassuming motherfucker.
Right, just clutching his bag, just like, I can help you. Like pushing his glasses up his nose. I can help you. To like this really fucking, I don't know if the word is pimp or this like.
The next time we see him, he had like this good head look.
Oh yeah. And then like in the end of the present day version is just like, oh, what up? I'm a rich motherfucker, gangster shit. It's like, oh my god. Basically,
why don't you come have a drink with me?
Oh yeah, Kiseki tries very hard, a little too hard. He believes himself to be hot shit. That's what this is.
I love the fact that his 2017 self is basically just this smooth operator.
You can tell that Kiseki has this presence and charisma about him, and that's why he's able to get where he is in present day. He's very intelligent, and he has that charisma, which makes him very dangerous.
I think the best part about the performance is, you know, like with Osanai, like, you actually get a bit of a progression with him, because in the past, like, he is you can tell he's sort of sniveling, conniving.
Oh, yeah.
Just a backstabber, and then you get to the last episode and the flashback with Draken.
Oh, yeah.
And you can absolutely see, like, all of that has gotten to his head, and he is just cocky as shit.
Yeah, because in his mind, he has won. Because
now, if only he could do something about that Takemichi shit.
Oh. Now, Kiseki's a fucking snake. I hate him, but I love him.
He's such a great villain. And, like, also as sort of the, you know, pardon the pun, but the dragon of Mobius in the first arc, like, Zeno as Hanma.
Oh, boy!
He's a lot of fun.
Like, man.
Oh, boy.
You want to talk about, like, absolute outward ruthlessness.
I just realized I kind of spit on my notes. That's not cool.
Oh, no.
So similar to Kiseki's actor, this is actually kind of like the first time I've really heard Zeno in a villain role. Like,
Same.
the closest... the closest thing to an antagonistic character I can think of him playing would be... No, I don't even... Well, no, Brawler and Antagonist wouldn't even count. Brawler's a great guy.
No, Brawler's a good dude. The closest, maybe, in terms of mentality to Hanma, I might argue Vanitas a little bit on that.
Okay, but Vanitas is a hero, so...
Vanitas is the hero, but, like, when you think about some of Vanitas' actions and the tone sometimes that Zeno takes on for the character... Again, I haven't started season 2 yet, but in the first season, it can line up a little bit with Hanma. That's, like, the closest you can get, but Hanma's just, like, way out there. Like, Hanma's, like, leagues away. He's on the other side of the football field compared to Vanitas.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have that comparison, yes, but Hanma's just, like, way on the other side of the field. And it works!
I absolutely love the sinister air that just comes off of Hanma.
Yep. It's so good.
Like, particularly with the, kind of start of the second timeline in the future. Mm-hmm. Like, right when Hinata's about to be murdered again.
Yep, because Takemichi runs into him without knowing it.
It's just like, oh, yeah, oh, shoot. You were supposed to be elsewhere.
It's just such a calm...
tone. Yeah, it's always just like, oh, you were supposed to be in the car. Mm-hmm. Oh, well.
and then you compare it to 2005 Hanma, who's fucking nuts.
Oh,
man.
It's, like, very unsettling, and Zeno can be good with unsettling. Like, have you guys watched Bungo and Alchemist yet at all, potentially?
Not yet, but it's on my...
I've seen 1 or 2 episodes, I think.
So, I've talked about it before with Megan when we did Bungo and Alchemist, because he plays Osamu Dazai in that, and there's the story of No Longer Human that is like a 2-parter in the latter half of the show, where Zeno gets to be like this sinister, like psychotic person. It's not to that extent, because that's just it's over dramatic, but there's purpose to that. Hanma's a little bit dialed back, and it's a bit more subtle, but I can see that, you know? And it's like, holy shit! Also, I love when he calls Kazutora batshit cray-cray, because it's like, motherfucker, you have no room to talk. You have no room to talk.
And, you know, that, like, it also fits in terms of, like, actual... something you would actually say in, like, 2005.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but I definitely do appreciate Zeno's just like overall demeanor. So it's like where this is a guy where it's like he's not just where he knows he's not the one on top of everything, but he definitely knows how to like get things done, how to command his men, and he is very on top of things.
He also has that charisma, not as much as Kiseki does. Because Hanma is a straight up pawn for Kiseki.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite little bits of him is that like the bloody Halloween battle is about to start, and they're like going over like all the terms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like ready to go.
Oh, yeah. Hanma's just ready to kick some shit, kick some ass.
But wasn't it Kazutora who like punches the Arbiter out? Like,
yes, that was Kazutora.
Yeah, that was Kazutora.
That was Kazutora.
Which, man, like, I've been a fan of Joe's Aegis since Fate Apocrypha, but
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Until you like actually showed me the credit list, I actually didn't know it was him. I kept thinking it was Griffin Birds because they sound very similar.
Yeah, I was actually confused for a little bit because Landon McDonald is also credited as Kazutora, but I think that's his younger self.
Oh, probably. Yeah, that would make sense. I was like, I could pick up that was Joe right away, honestly. Because I'm like, this is just a punk version of Claude from Three Houses. That's what this is.
Okay, yeah. When I saw it was Joe Zaza, it was like, okay, yeah, that definitely is him, but like, I can't think it was Griffin Birds because it's like, yeah, they have similar voices, and I know Griffin Birds did like a lot of Studiopolis stuff. And I was also pretty sure he was like Baby Draken, so I was like, okay, it's probably Griffin Birds. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not him.
But no, this is for punk Claude, for gangster Claude. That's how my brain is equating to this right now. Like,
to which, I hate Kazutora on my Kazutora.
Kazutora is probably one of the most tragic characters we've seen.
On the one hand, he's a very tragic character. His whole situation is pretty messed up. On the other hand, like the way he goes about it is just like
the way he copes with it.
The way he copes with it just makes him so extremely punchable.
Oh, it is. It's like
and literally all of the bad things that happen to him, he also kind of brings on himself.
Yes.
Like, he's the one who killed Mikey's brother.
Right.
It was a presumed act of self-defense, but...
Okay, no. It was not a presumed act of self-defense because Mikey's brother was having an interaction with Baji.
Right.
Kazutora just comes in and just whacks him on the head he comes in to defend Baji. Yes.
To presumably defend Baji, but then he realizes, oh yeah, he fucked up.
Yeah. But
which I guess that's more on the side of his younger self played by another actor, but still, since we're talking about the character.
It's one of those interesting things because Kazutora, in terms of what we know about these characters so far, has probably the most tragic story of the cast. Because not only do we have the whole thing where he killed Mikey's brother out of a mix of accident and self-defense, we learn that his parents were in a very abusive relationship at a very young age. And his mom, fucking bitch, made Kazutora choose, like, whose side he was gonna be on, mom or dad. And then just everything that he was dealing with kind of just, like, bubbled up for him.
Yeah, so now he has, like...
Now he blames everything on Mikey.
It's not even just Mikey, it's just, like, it is very clear that it's just, like, something in him is just kind of, like, broken to the point where, like, where his way to cope with things is to just blame other people.
Right. He sees
himself
as
he has a really
hero.
Big, like, hero-villain complex to him.
Yeah. Like, that's his way of coping, because he hasn't been able to, like, face what has happened to him or what he's done. So, in all respects, he's one of the more tragic characters of this first season because of that. Baji, I would think, is a close second in terms of the second half, honestly. But, But no, like, Joe Zisha is just such a fun performance. It's punk Claude. I keep saying that. But, like, those tragic pieces are very important. Because Kazutora stabs Baji, right? That's what kicks off that next timeline anyway. But he also still stabs Baji in the 2005 Bloody Halloween incident that Takemichi's trying to prevent. Yeah. And he's just sitting there as Baji is, like, slumped over on a bunch of fucking junk in cars. And he's just like, it's not me. It wasn't me. He's, like, mumbling to himself, like, he's trying to figure out and process what has just happened. Because...
Similar in a way to when he killed Mikey's brother.
Right. Very similar. And you can see he's trying to process it, but in his mind, he killed Baji because he was betrayed by Baji. That's what was going on in his head. Yeah, because I think it is that Kiseki calls Hanma to let him know to get rid of Baji, basically. Hanma calls Kazutora to let Kazutora know, yeah, Baji's a fucking traitor. Kazutora takes that to heart because the two of them are very close. And that's what sets Kazutora off in order to stab Baji. So,
yeah.
Kazutora is a very, very fragile person.
And I gotta say, like, the definitive moment for me with him is, like, at the very end, I think it's, like, episode 22, when Takemichi and Draken are talking to him in prison.
Yes.
When he's finally realized, like, oh, I am responsible for all this.
He's finally taking accountability for his actions.
Which, unfortunately, he takes... at first, a little too far, where he's just like, yeah, I will take responsibility for all of this.
Oh,
and then Draken immediately calls him the fuck out on that, because he knows what's gonna happen.
And I think, again, that goes back to one of the points where I think Kazutora is probably one of the more tragic characters we meet in this show so far. Because he's dealing with a lot of shit, and he's finally coming to terms with what he's done, and being accountable for his actions, instead of blaming others.
Right.
And it's that moment of, that whole scene you're talking about, it's that moment of clarity where Draken passes on a message from Mikey to Kazutora, where Mikey's like, you're always a part of Tomon, and I forgive you. And it's that moment of forgiveness that I think really hits very hard for Kazutora, and it's that realization and that clarity for the first time that he realizes that he can be forgiven for what he's done. And I think it's very impactful of a moment. That Bloody Halloween arc is just such a roller coaster of emotions. It's not even funny.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm. That was, like, I basically got through Bloody Halloween in, like, a sitting and a half.
I basically did too, because I marathoned the majority of it last night.
It was that intense.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, speaking of kind of intense moments of the show, like, we've also got a name I've really never heard of in the context of anime, Jono Mahundro as Atsushi, Akun.
Yep.
And just, like, I love how, you know, like Osanai, he gets this sort of 3-segmented arc.
Yeah.
Where he's just, like, just a middle school punk, and then, like, he's just absolutely hollow in 2017.
Well, remember, we have the two different versions of 2017.
First timeline.
Yeah, first timeline. Yeah, he's very hollow. He had moved up pretty high in the ranks of Tomon by that point, and by the time Takemichi and Naoto come to see him to ask questions and try and get in touch with Mikey. This is before I think he even met Mikey. Takemichi. I think this is before he met Mikey for the first time.
Yeah.
and Akun takes his own life by jumping off of a building because of all the things he's done and so much pain he has caused.
Yeah.
Wait. Actually, he had met Mikey by that point, but only, like, maybe the one time.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
like, the whole thing of that is also just, like, the whole reveal that, oh, yeah, I was the one who pushed you in front of the train thing.
Yeah, on the roof when
where he finally admits it, and he's on the roof, and
Mm-hmm.
he's, like, on the ledge, and he's just, like, begging Takemichi to save him, because he's basically figured out that Takemichi can travel through time.
Yeah, Akun is probably the only other character who has even the shred of realization. Takemichi does not
Okay, you say that, but when, specifically right as Akun fell off, guess who was there?
Yeah,
we very specifically see Kisaki watching the whole thing.
Oh,
which,
you're right.
again, why would he be watching that if he didn't have some inkling of who Takemichi was?
Oh, I forgot about that part. You're right.
Man.
Motherfucker, if Kisaki can
all
fucking
just right
time
there
travel,
in front of you.
If he can fucking time travel, I fucking hate Kisaki even more now. Fuck you.
I mean,
Alright.
it also helps to explain how he can weasel his way through Takemichi's interventions to basically reach the same end.
Right. You right. Motherfucker. Anyway.
Yeah, and then...
Going back to Akun.
yeah, and then there's the third time you see him, which is, like, the second 2017 timeline.
Mm-hmm.
He finally makes it as a hairdresser, but he still can't escape Tomon.
Right. Because in this version of 2017, Akun has a wife and a child, and it is presumed, according to Naoto in the investigation that he was doing, that his wife and child disappeared. Presumably, Kisaki kidnapped them and forced Akun's hand in order to use him to kill Takemichi, but inadvertently only kills Hinata.
Right.
So, it's... Oh, I fucking hate Kisaki. Motherfucker. He's so punchable. I want to kick his ass for hurting these boys. God damn. They're all good boys except for Kisaki. Fuck Kisaki. Fuck Kisaki. Anyway, no, I had never heard John before until this show, and it makes sense. He doesn't exactly have a lot of credits under his belt currently. So
one thing I will say is that I did like his performance as, like, the younger version a lot. I did think he sounded like maybe a little shaky playing older Akun.
Which is also understandable given,
Yeah.
I think the post-August 3rd, 2017 version of Akun, where he is the hairdresser, I think that was fine. But I think the one on the roof was a little...
Yeah, I did think specifically the scene on the roof is
Yeah.
like maybe a little shakier than I would have liked.
A little bit. I think part of it might have to do a little bit with how the character design turned out for Akun as well. So it's not as... It doesn't seem as, like, an internal conflict or, like, pain or exhaustion as, like, the Akun in that version comes off a little bit to me. So
Yeah.
I think that might be some of the issue is with the character design and the assumption there. But I think the second time we have 2017 Akun, I think it works nicely, honestly. It works a lot better in that version compared to the one on the roof. But I was surprised by John. I aside from, I think, a little bit of rough start growing pains at the start of the show, I think it turned out rather well. Because the first 2017 Akun version, I think, was only, episode 4? Maybe?
Yeah, 4 or 5, like,
It was
somewhere
rather
right before...
early.
the halfway point of the core.
Yeah, it was rather early on, so aside from that, I think it worked out very well. He really got acclimated into it a lot more. But yeah, I think the roughest was probably that roof scene in 2017 with the first version of present-day Akun.
Yeah.
But I think that has more to do with the character design and how the progression of Akun was. And maybe not knowing what happened to him either. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I still liked it, though.
Oh, absolutely. Like, this group, like, basically the sort of quote-unquote antagonists, like, they did their job really well. I
like how Akun's the antagonist, but only because he's the reason why Hinata's killed.
Pretty much.
Otherwise than that, Akun's a very good boy. He's just stuck with shit circumstances, because fuck Kiseki.
Yeah. Alright, and moving on to the Tokyo Manji gang, I'm kind of gonna lump Baji and Chifuyu into, like, one little conversation point. Because they are both sort of the driving force of the Bloody Halloween arc.
Yeah, they are. I hate that these four are together because these four are my favorite boys.
Yeah.
Like, I told the two of you this earlier, but for the folks at home, before recording this, I was having dinner, and Andrew looks at me, he's like, I haven't watched Tokyo Revengers. It is on my list of things to watch at some point. Did you end up with a favorite boy? I'm like, fuck you. Because I was like, I would tell you that it's either Mikey or Draken. However, on this rewatch, I was reminded about Baji and Chifuyu, and I'm like, you motherfucker.
The thing I really liked about these two, first of all, Chifuyu, Adam MacArthur, is like undying loyalty, not to the gang, not to Tomon.
To Baji.
It is to Baji.
It is to Baji. He does not care about anything else. It is to Baji, and then subsequently to Takemichi. But at Baji's request.
Like, his objective is basically to bring Baji back, and...
Yeah.
Like, I really like the first part of the Bloody Halloween arc, where it's just, like, where Takemichi is basically trying to get Mikey to, like, not kill Baji, like, outright.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I really did like Adam's performance. Like, I mentioned it with Jujutsu Kaisen, but, like, the thing I really do decide to like about it is, like, the general tone of a lot of his performances, that he just has this very kind of down-to-earth quality that kind of comes through in a lot of his work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think that really works well here.
Which is really funny considering who he plays in Shadow's house. Like, the absolutely over-the-top Ricky and Patrick.
It's not as over-the-top as Sean and John. I.e. John, but you know.
Right.
Point still stands. No, I really loved Adam as Chifuyu, because Chifuyu does have that down-to-earth nature, but it's also... He's also very good at hiding his emotions for the most part. Only when it comes to Baji does he let those emotions come through, right? And he has these little fun subtleties to Chifuyu's character that I just find so enjoyable. And then when you think about the dynamic between Baji and Chifuyu helps. Baji is the heart, Chifuyu is the brains, if that makes sense.
It does.
Because the reason why Tomon was founded in the first place was because of Baji's idea. It was Baji's idea to start it in the first place. And he became this, like, the heart of Tomon, in essence of that. And Chifuyu kind of counteracts Baji's, like, strong passion and heart, along with the stupid brawn gorilla-ness that Baji will have sometimes, with this more down-to-earth centered kind of person. And he can read Baji so well because he's known Baji for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
So it's... which gives Chifuyu and Adam's portrayal a much more mature tone to him at times. He can be cocky as shit when we have that flashback of how Chifuyu first meets Baji, which that whole bit is great.
And his voice does still have sort of that childlike tone to it.
Yeah.
That sort of plays into the emotional maturity of the character really well.
Yeah. Because in that flashback, Chifuyu is essentially the big shit on campus. For, what is he, a first year at that point?
Yeah, I think so.
He's just this big shot, cocky little shit. To which his first interaction with Baji in the classroom, and Baji looks like a fucking nerd. With the hair and the ponytail, like normal, but like the fucking nerd glasses and trying to do homework.
He's just trying to get his shit together.
He's trying to get his shit together.
Leave him alone.
He was. It's so cute.
Okay, no, I think it was like very specifically. He was like, he promised his mom he would get through school.
Yeah, because he was held back. Baji was held back and is a first year again, and he's like, if I don't do well this time, it'll break mom's heart. It was so cute. But no, it's... Chifuyu has a lot of respect for Baji, and that really does come through in Adam's character. Because it comes through because he knows Baji so well. He's very mature, and he has like a really good counterbalance to Baji's personality. And you can see the respect that Chifuyu has, to the point where Baji's death like really crushes him to the point where at the end of the first season, all he's been wanting this entire time was revenge against Kiseki.
Yes.
Because of Baji.
And then coming back into the final episode in modern day, where he's basically like Takemichi's second in command, and they both get taken to Kiseki's tower for a drink, and whew.
Oh yeah.
To which, like, we've been talking a lot about Chifuyu. Let's get a little bit into Baji.
Oh, Baji! This poor man. This poor child. Oh, Baji. The sweetest thing, but the biggest, like, gorilla dumbass. Okay,
he's
maybe not
a big
as much
old
as Pop.
puppy, but puppies bite.
He's a yep. He has the bite to match that bark. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I will say that this role definitely reminded me a lot of the character Lucian played in Mobile Suit Gundam Blooded Orphans, whose name escapes me, but that character was basically just like a giant jock.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I don't. See, I can't get Felix from Three Houses out of my head. I'm in the Three Houses camp, and it's like, this is just punk gangster Felix. My boy Felix.
But yeah, it does. It reminds me a lot of that character, but not quite as jockey, and I guess a little more gruff.
Yeah.
To which I wasn't sure how that. Which, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard Lucian use that tone of voice, but I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to work across, like, a bunch of episodes, but, like, the performance worked really well.
Like, I'm going to be real. Lucian's Baji was probably one of the more consistently spot-on performances of the show.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic.
Huh, okay. I would argue one of the other two we're going to talk about shortly, but in terms
of...
I think in terms of the arc itself, absolutely.
It is at least up there with, like, the ones we were about to mention.
Oh, yeah. 100% is absolutely up there. And I think Lucian, despite Baji really having a major role in the Bloody Halloween arc, it is a very impactful and lasting one. Like, Baji has a presence in this show, and it stays. And Lucian carries that, because that is a huge impact. I fucking cried when he died. I will say it. I cried.
I know that there's a lot to say about, like, you know, the current Baji, but I also want to say that, like, Lucian's delivery as young Baji was also really good, specifically during the scene where, like, they see the bike shop where everything goes wrong, and he's, like, has to freak out about it. Freak out about all of it.
Oh, yeah. Again, Baji, because the background for Baji, aside from him being the reason why Toman exists in the first place, he's next door neighbors with Mikey, I believe, right?
Yeah. Either next door or, like...
They grew up together.
Close.
I think they've said it was next
Same
door,
building.
but they grew up together. So Baji has known Mikey forever. Forever. Probably even longer than Draken has. And... so... It's to the point where, in terms of Mikey, if Baji or Draken were to die, Mikey would fucking lose his shit. And he does when Baji ends up dead. Because he goes after Kazutora.
He kind of does when both Baji and Draken die at one point or another.
Correct, you're right. Considering original timeline, Draken does die. That is a point to be made there. But no, it's... With the backstory of Baji being the reason why Tomon's created, and essentially being its heart and its, like, core, even more so of its core and heart than Mikey is, and Mikey's the commander of the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel that impact and how much that, like, Baji means to all of them, especially the 6 founding members, that being Mikey, Draken, Baji, Kazutora, Pa, and Mitsuya.
Yeah.
Like, Baji has an impact on them.
To which, man, like, the definitive scene I was gonna bring up is the very beginning of the Bloody Halloween arc, with the Tomon meeting, where they introduce Kiseki.
Oh, and fucking Takemichi decides to punch Kiseki and to save Takemichi's ass. Baji just comes in.
Baji just goes in and beats the living tar out of him.
Oh yeah, because Takemichi would have been fucking screwed if he didn't.
Where he also quote-unquote defects, and that's, like, that's...
Yep.
That's a good introduction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It took, like, rewatching that scene after I had finished, where I realized, oh yeah, like, you can kind of tell that Lucian Dodge is, like, acting, as in, like, he is currently playing a character who is acting.
Yeah.
Like, it's a role within a role, and it's, so good.
Like, you wouldn't pick it up on your first watch, and I certainly didn't, until, obviously, Takemichi's interactions with Chifuyu, or if Chifuyu's just like, no, I'm positive he's being a spy in Valhalla. Like, I'm positive. And it's like, on the rewatch, you can get that sense. At the same time, your impression of Baji, because you only see Baji one other time, and that is on August 3rd, during the fight that originally kills Draken. When all of Tomon come in, you get introduced really to, like, the captains for the first time, including Baji, and Baji's like, fuck, let's go, man! hair in the ponytail, let's fucking go, I'm at it! Like, so you don't really have the sense at that time what Baji actually really means to Tomon. And not only as a entity and an identity for Tomon, but as, in a way, a symbolic. He's kind of symbolic for Tomon. And I just love Lucian's portrayal. Again, bitch made me cry when he died. I was like, no!
Yeah, that's gonna stick with me for a bit.
Oh man, that was the only time I think in the show that I actually cried. And again, I watched Hinata fucking die in a goddamn car crash and a car explosion. Like, Baji hit really hard, man.
Yeah.
Especially once you know, like, what he, like, symbolically what he means to Tomon, really. So. It hurt. It hurt bad.
Alright, and honestly, I think I'm gonna lump together my thoughts on Mikey and Draken.
Okay.
Because the two characters are so intertwined with one another that I really enjoyed Alex Lee's sort of... He gets to do both the Zenitsu, like, sort of high-pitched, childlike voice, and then he gets to go into beast mode, and it's... Like, the contrast is so good.
Mikey's beast mode is just fucking intense and scary.
And it's like... And honestly, Sean Chiplock is the exact opposite. Like,
yeah.
His performance is mainly just this really intimidating beast. But in the end, like, he cares about everybody around him.
He is the big brother. He's seen, I think the specific line is he is the big brother. I think it's... Oh, Baji actually says it. In that flashback where they're at the shrine and they come up with the idea of creating Tomon, Baji mentions, like, our vice commander will be our big brother Draken, so he's the big brother of the group.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, between Mikey and Draken, like, they are inseparable and for a reason. I think I mentioned this earlier where, like, Mikey has the presence and the leadership and all that fun stuff, but he's nicknamed the Invincible Mikey. That's what he's referred to as throughout the course of the show. But Draken is Mikey's heart and his moral code. Hence why Draken, in the first half of the show, Draken's death in the original timeline has a huge negative impact on Mikey.
Yep.
And it's Draken's death that causes Mikey to spiral down. So...
And then, conversely, Baji and Kazutora's deaths in the second timeline, not only kind of drag Mikey into this sort of dark state, but Draken as well.
Yeah.
Because, Draken is, in the 2017 timeline, is absolutely willing to kill people.
Yeah. 100%, because at that point, and Draken actually makes a point in saying this to Takemichi while he's on death row, that he wishes that he had realized back then, I think the wording was, the heavy cross that Mikey was bearing as a 15-year-old kid. So, I think even at that point, even though Draken is this moral grounding for Mikey and essentially Mikey's heart, even Draken couldn't predict, like, the impact something like Kazutora killing Baji would have. Because, of course, this is going to affect Draken as well. Because...
Yeah.
The four of them, like, started Tomon together along with Pa and Mitsuya. It's... Like, it's hard to really... I'm kind of glad we're talking about the two of them together, because it's really hard to separate the two of them.
Exactly.
Because you can't really have one without the other. It's the whole argument of fucking... It's the argument of Akudama Drive with Brawler and Hoodlum. You can't separate the two.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, they kind of epitomize the idea of, like, platonic soulmates.
Yeah, they really do. Like, they balance each other out so well, because Mikey does come off as this mature leader type person, but Mikey has moments where he's very childish.
Yes.
Very childish.
Yeah, like the wicked tantrum, he couldn't get his kids meal.
Yeah, the flat. It's like, I ordered a kids meal.
Like, Draken's just had one of the little flags ready to go.
That was great. Fucking
that is definitely not the first time they had that conversation.
Oh no, it's not. And then fucking because for a little bit of context, so Takemichi decides to be Draken's secret bodyguard to prevent Draken from dying, or either also to prevent a argument between Mikey and Draken, because at that point, I guess in the original timeline, like Tomon was kind of split between the Mikey and the Draken factions. And like, he's just following them around, and they're just like, after the whole flag with the kids meal thing, shortly after that, he's still in the restaurant, and Draken's just getting pissed at Mikey for something, and Takemichi's like, oh no, are they gonna fight? And all it is just Mikey napping in the booth, and Draken's like, are you fucking kidding me? Again?
Like,
again,
it's those moments where, like...
those moments of levity are fucking fantastic.
And it just absolutely belies the fact that, like, the both of them could absolutely kick your shit in, like, 2 ways to Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like,
I think sorry, go
like,
ahead.
the duality for both of those characters,
Yeah.
it just... I love it so much.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
good.
they have a really good dynamic.
I think another funny moment for, Alex and Sean as Mikey and Draken is, I believe this is after... It's after the August 3rd... Yeah, it's after the August 3rd incident. Takemichi goes back to the future, or present, excuse me, to see what had happened. And he returns back to the past because he finds out, shit, this is still happening. And he arrives in the past in a fucking bathhouse with Mikey and Draken. Fucking... And Mikey and Draken are just poking fun at each other because you have Draken over here by the sinks with a goddamn shower cap on, shampoo in his hair, and Mikey's giving him shit because he's like, oh, the little baby doesn't want to get soap in his eyes. And they're just
And then they
with
fight,
each other.
and then the shampoo cap ends up on Takemichi's hair. It's great.
It's fucking great.
And so, yeah, I think another fun bit is just kind of like when they're like first introduced and like they are, like, and they just kind of like suddenly decide to break into Takemichi's school.
Yeah.
And then, and then they like beat them over in the hallway, and then just have them lined up so Mikey can just step on top of them.
Yeah, because when you're first introduced to the two of them in 2005, they are seen as this very intimidating presence. But like, the more Takemichi gets to know them and spend time with them, us in turn as the viewer, we realize these two actually mean very well. They're both
like,
idiots at times, but they mean very well. And there's
they
like,
are legit good beings.
Right. Like, it's these are all good boys with the exception of fucking Kiseki, but we already talked about Kiseki. It's just like, and we believe Takemichi when he says to Naoto, I can't see why Mikey would turn out this way.
Yeah.
I don't see Mikey doing this. And he's desperate, especially in that first half, to save Draken. Because again, Draken is Mikey's heart. And the second that Draken is dead, there's that downward spiral for Mikey.
Yep.
And I think both Sean and Alex play off of each other so well, and they complement each other so well, both with their tone, both with the tone, with the personality, with the context and the backgrounds for these two characters. Like, this is like, you can't separate them. You really can't. Which is probably why when it came to Viewer's Choice nominations, it was kind of difficult to figure out which one to put up there. At least for me.
Yeah.
Because it was either going to be Alex or Sean as the person who represented Tokyo Revengers for that Viewer's Choice vote.
Yeah, I will say the one, like, I will say the one, I guess it's not like a serious complaint, it's kind of like one little, I guess, like, maybe minor gripe, is that, like, you can kind of forgive it with Draken because, like, his character design is kind of, like, meant to look that way.
Yeah.
But Mikey does not sound like a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You can you can argue that a little bit. I'd be curious to know if it's one of the situations because we don't know Mikey's, like, upbringing at all. We know very, very little. We know as far as we know he grew up and was childhood friends with Baji. We know about the death of his older brother at the hands of Kazutora. We know about his half-sister Emma, which we don't even find out until, like, episode 23. So I'm wondering if part of what makes Mikey could be potentially his upbringing and his past that makes him more mature than he actually should be for a 15-year-old.
Quick shout out to Casey Modulo for playing young Mikey.
Yes.
Love it. And then, was Sean also young Draken? I can't remember.
No, I don't know if they were credited. Like, it sounded like Griffin Bird to me, but I'm absolutely not sure if anyone was credited.
It's possible, but at the same time, we've also heard Sean in fucking Osamatsu, so anything's fucking
Listen,
possible.
I know it wasn't Sean. Like, I know it was someone else. It wasn't Sean.
Okay.
I just not.
We just don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But
as far as I could
kudos
see,
to Casey.
I didn't see, like, a credit for young Draken, so.
Yeah, kudos to Casey, though. Because that would... Babby Mikey is very... Even for, like, little Mikey, when Draken first meets him, Mikey has this presence of, like, being more mature for his age than he actually is. So, that kind of brings me back to the point of, like, I wonder what Mikey's actual past and history is like, you know what I mean? And I'm wondering if that has something to do with his more mature for his age kind of persona. But again, he has his childish moments.
Yeah.
I want my flag in my kid's mail, damn it! I love it. It's fun. These two are probably, in terms of the entire show, are probably some of my favorite performances. And you can't separate. It's hard to separate one from the other, personally.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. I think we can move on to our protagonist from here, and I'm gonna be honest. There's not too much to say about Griffin Butao as Naoto.
Yeah,
like,
there's not a ton.
It's a fun performance. Admittedly, he does sound like a little awkward as Baby Naoto, but thankfully he's not doing it too much, so it's not like super distracting.
Yeah, you don't have many instances where Baby Naoto is there. I think the most we get is the first episode after Takemichi defends him against some punks and he's talking to him, but even then that's mostly Takemichi talking and monologuing. And then I think episode 23 when we have the comedy of errors known as Mikey and Emma on a date. You know, like...
Win air quotes.
I mean, young Naoto is like an okay bean. I mean, adult Naoto is, he's a cop. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Adult Naoto is very mature.
He's mature, but also, like, he's a cop. I mean, like, literally the very first thing he says when, like, Takemichi comes back from the past for a time, he's like, wait, why did you just kill Mikey? It's like, oh, you cop.
No, I will say, though, I think another point, and this actually pertains to Griffin Puatu, I think another point that kind of hits pretty hard is... There's two different parts, and it's after the Battle of August 3rd and Takemichi returns to present day 2017, where Hinata is alive at this point. And one, I find it hilarious that when Takemichi and Hinata see each other again for the first time, they're awkward as shit. And meanwhile, you have fucking Naoto like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It was great. But I
Just get in the car, I'll take you somewhere.
Get in the car, you fucking children. But I think, emotionally, I think the other part of the show that does hit pretty hard. It didn't make me cry, but it could potentially have gone there if it really wanted to. Was Hinata's funeral, where you have Takemichi paying his respects to Hinata and the family, but he's taking his time and he's just sitting there for a long period of time, and Naoto's just sitting there on the sidelines watching him, realizing what's going on, and he out of nowhere breaks down.
Yeah.
And is just inconsolable, and it really hits hard. It doesn't hit as hard as Baji's death for me, but like you can feel that pain for Naoto because he does love his sister, and it's like, we did all we could. Why is this still happening?
There we go. I was gonna bring that up because like, it's not just the fact that he's mourning; it's the fact that like he's doing everything he can to stop this, and he still failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the delivery was really good there.
No, yeah, that was a really poignant scene for Naoto's character, 100%. Also, can I also just say that early on in the show, the the weird Deus Ex Machina plot shenanigans that is, Naoto, how come you, like, why can't I tell Hinata about this? Yet you believe me, and he's like, I was in the occult back then. That was so stupid.
Yes.
I was in the occult back then. So of course I'm gonna believe you. I'm like, oh my god.
To which, I guess it was, I guess it was the opera trying to hand wave things, and that was so honestly pretty stupid.
That is a very stupid plot point. It works, but it's very stupid.
It works because it was dumb.
It works because it was so dumb. But considering, Mikey having his suspicions, and now we're speculating Kisaki's involvement in shit, like, but yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, don't tell her, you fucking idiot, she's not gonna believe you. Then why'd you believe me? Because I was in the cult when I was a kid, dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's stupid, but hey, it explains it. They never bring it back up again. So, it's a one and done thing. It's very dumb, but it works out.
Yeah. And I gotta say, like, I'm not very familiar with Lizzie Freeman. I still have not gotten to Golden Wind yet.
Oh boy! You're in for a fun time, then.
Yeah, you should feel that it's a pretty fun time. But, before we even talk about Hinata, I gotta ask, have either of you seen Erased?
Not yet.
Yes, I have.
Okay, Steph, then you would get this.
Okay.
Okay, so Hinata, to me, as a character, feels like the author of Tokyo Revengers, I guess, like, read the original manga for Erased and got very mad that Kaio didn't wait for Satoru.
Oh.
And that's what Hinata is as a character.
Oof.
Oh no! Fuck you, but you're right.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and just oof.
Oh man, fuck you, but you're probably right.
Okay, look, I mean, Tokyo Revengers is a fun show. Tokyo Revengers is a fun show. It's also, like, don't think too deeply about, like,
No, yeah.
Yes.
It's just, like, don't think too deeply about, like, 26-year-old Hanamichi trying to, like, court his younger version of his past girlfriend.
Yeah.
Just don't think too hard
I was
about
gonna
that.
bring that up in final thoughts, but yes.
Like, don't think too hard about it, because Tokyo Revengers has stupid moments, and it's just fucking great. Compared to a race that takes itself so goddamn seriously.
Okay. I mean, look, I want to give the author some benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, like, this was a weekly shonen magazine. This is the same magazine that ran, like, the Seven Deadly Sins with, like, the whole, like, Melodious Elizabeth romance we don't talk about, and, also, like, everything Mashima's written, so, like...
Oh boy.
So it does raise like a slight eyebrow, but like at least from what we've seen so far, it doesn't feel like too sketchy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back onto like on topic.
Listen,
Like-
derailing is normal here. It's fine.
Oh, I know.
Look,
I know.
it was
but
gonna come.
we're-
Look, it was gonna come up at some point. It's like literally the premise of the show.
Yeah, yeah. We had to get the Band-Aid off at some point. But we are actually doing, like, halfway decent with time, so...
Oh, no, we are.
So we do have plenty of time for segues. But we do have to eventually get back on the rails.
Yeah.
But coming back around to Lizzie Freeman, I'm not very familiar with her work at the moment, but, like, she did a really good job with sort of the, like, the bubblegum sweetness of 2005 Hinata,
I love her. She's cute.
while at the same time kind of maintaining a bit of a level of maturity for the 2017 self.
Mm-hmm.
And God, if the episode 13... Like, where she's killed the second time.
Oh, boy.
Like, the whole thing with her in the car, she's got, like, card things all over her gut, keeping her from being able to get out of the car. And she's just like, yeah, go on without me, Takemichi.
I can't feel my legs anymore.
Lizzie's delivery there was really good.
Yeah.
I also will say that while, like, you know, I will say that, like, while in general the whole idea that, like, she was still theoretically pining for him that whole time felt a little like, okay, yeah, this is kind of, like, weird, obvious wish fulfillment. But,
yeah.
I will say that, like, leading up to that, I thought, like, the whole scene where they're, like, in the car and they, like, don't know how to act around each other, I thought that Lizzie's delivery there was really good.
No, yeah. Like, this little awkward, like, I haven't seen you in 12 years and you come out of the blue, like, it's very interesting.
And it makes me really interested in what is supposed to happen on Christmas Eve 2005.
Yeah, and what's alluded to that. Mm-hmm.
Which is supposed to be the central focus point of the recently announced second season, so we are getting more of this.
Good, because I want to know. Because originally, in the original timeline, if Takemichi never went back in time and things didn't change, Hinata, from our understanding, Hinata breaks up with Takemichi. However, now that he's made some changes in the timeline, it's implied that Takemichi this time broke up with Hinata on Christmas. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
And I know you said, like, the whole pining away for him may have been a little bit like a wish fulfillment odd thing. I agree with you, but at the same time, when you think about Takemichi and Hinata's relationship, primarily with the Takemichi that ends up traveling back in time, you can kind of see a little bit Hinata, like, really kind of falling for Takemichi more and more, because she blatantly has stated several times, like, how much more mature he can be at times, and it's very alluded that she really likes that side of him.
Okay, okay, I don't doubt that. It's just kind of like, look, even my single, but no, it's like no one's going to spend like 12 years fighting for one person. That just doesn't happen ever.
You're also correct on that one, but
yeah,
I
would say that's probably kind of rare.
It's very rare, but I think at the same time, I don't think we have all the pieces to the puzzle yet.
Yeah,
with their relationship.
Okay, like, the one piece of the puzzle I feel like that could maybe head with this is that, like, okay, like, we know they broke up on Christmas. We don't know that necessarily that it is 2005.
That is also true.
Maybe it happened, like, much later, in which case, okay, yeah, in which case that wouldn't... In which case it is much easier to head with this.
Maybe they were finishing middle school. Maybe they were in high school. Yeah, we don't know... We know the day. We don't know the year. So, yeah, you're right. It could be...
True.
Could be later on in the future. We don't have those details, as my cat comes to me. But no. Oh my god. What, bud? Can you hear him? He's whining. What do you want, bud? But, in terms of Lizzie, I know I've heard her in a few more things compared to Patrick, because aside from Golden Wind, that's the obvious one. But I've heard her in Cells at Work Code Black, where she plays one of the little platelets in that, and she's very cute and adorable. So, And then there's also, what have I seen her in? There was another one. Not Seven Deadly Sins. It was Tonikawa, where she plays one of the secondary characters. Tonikawa Over the Moon for You.
Okay.
She's one of the family members who runs a public bath. And she and her sister know the main male character, aka, that's Kyle McCarley, I believe? Zach Aguilar, thank you for coming out and saying hello. Hi. Thank you for that. Cameo! But, no, so I've heard Lizzie a couple of times with, like, fun cutesy roles a little bit. Trish in Golden Wind is probably the most mature sounding that I've heard so far. I can't even remember the cardinal in Alicization, barely. It's been a hot minute.
I mean, the stuff I really know her for is this, Golden Wind, and the, like, second episode of the Inspector Dumb I watched.
Yeah. So she's still up and coming. Like, she doesn't...
I wouldn't say that. She's done, like, a fairly decent amount of stuff at this point. It's just I haven't seen, like, a whole lot of it.
Yeah, same. I've only seen, like, maybe, like... I can count on a single hand so far, is essentially what's happened here. But she's very cute in this. She's very cute, very sweet. Sweet as younger 2005 Hinata. But you are right, Patrick. She also has that a bit more of a mature tone when you get to meet her in 2017. And it just works out nicely. Again, I also love the comedic moments.
Like,
yeah, she does have some really good comedic
like
moments.
with the misunderstanding. Where, okay, where the fuck did she get the detective gear? Where the fuck did she get the pipe?
Where the fuck did Takemichi asks, she's like, don't question me, Watson.
To which I know neither of you would get this, but like that whole bit where like she puts on the detective pipe and she's like, I'm going to solve this in my grandfather's name, is like a reference to Kendaichi, which is
okay. I was wondering what the reference was.
Okay,
which is another detective manga that has run like not as long as Detective Conan, but it's kind of like, I guess, weekly shonen's like equivalent to that.
But it's very, very like a big thing in Japan, I'm assuming.
I did see like the most recent version of it, kind of going on Crunchyroll.
Gotcha.
I am at least familiar with the manga, like the Detective Files of Young Kindaichi, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess this brings us up to the man of the hour.
Oh boy, Takemichi.
AJ Beckles as Takemichi. Which I do have to say, he was a little rough in the first episode or two, but he finds his footing really quickly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree slightly. I mean, I would say he was like maybe a little rough here and there, but I would actually say that out of the gate running, he was probably the best performance in the dub, and just kind of like kept going from there.
Interesting. Okay, I would say.
Because I feel like, at least for me, like up until like maybe Mikey and Draken introduced, like his performance kind of like definitely carried it down to the first couple of episodes, I think.
Okay.
For me, it's hard to tell because like this was before I watched Kimono Jihen. I had no fucking clue who AJ Beckles was. This is my first instance with him.
Admittedly, I actually was following him on Twitter for a while, like before this, because like I saw him, because I saw he was like an inspiring. I saw he was like aspiring to be in anime for like a good while, and I knew that he was like an associate of Zeno Robinson. So so I was following him for a while. So when I saw he got cast, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. Yeah,
for me, it's like I didn't know anything about AJ aside from the fact that he knows Zeno, and Zeno is like the biggest hype man, and it's great.
Yeah,
he's the biggest hype man, and it's the greatest thing because he's so fun and supportive of other people. But I digress. That was the only thing I knew about AJ was because he knew Zeno, right? And so I'm like, I know nothing about this guy. I don't know what he sounds like. I don't know a damn thing. And then I hear him as Takemichi. And it's like, I hate to be the comparison kind of person. It sounded similar to some respect to Johnny Young Bosch.
A little bit. Okay, yeah, a little bit. But you know what? Who he is actually a dead ringer for, which is kind of funny because he put up a comparison video of it himself.
What?
Okay, Seth. How familiar are you with Kingdom Hearts?
None at all.
Oh my god!
Because he sounds
Kingdom Hearts
because he sounds exactly like Jesse McCartney as Roxas.
That's right.
Hold on, wait, back the fuck up.
Yes.
When the fuck did Jesse McCartney voice anything? What the fuck?
2005.
Yeah, Jesse McCartney is it. Yeah, Jesse McCartney is Roxas in Kingdom Hearts, and Jesse McCartney actually has like a pretty decent amount of voice acting credits.
Oh my god! I only know Jesse McCartney as the fucking singer. What the fuck?
So now you know why we've been pushing you and Andrew to play Kingdom Hearts after you're done with the Somnium Files.
Oh, it's gonna be a little bit before Kingdom Hearts gets touched. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be a minute. But holy shit! Wow. Okay. Now I'm actually curious. But no.
Because it's funny. Like he put up a comparison video himself, and like legit, I could not tell which was him and which was Jesse McCartney.
Holy shit! You're gonna have to send that to me later because now I have to see this. But to me though, it sounded like my comparison in my brain and what I equated to was Johnny Young Bosch because some of the similar tonal inflections that Johnny has, AJ also has. So that's where the comparison for me comes from.
I actually kind of got some vibes of like Greg Ayres and Derek Snow out of him.
Ooh. Oh, okay. I can kind of see that a little bit. Yeah. But for me, with AJ and Takemichi, I really liked it. I thought it was a little rough at the beginning, but I think it's a mix of a couple of factors. One, this is his first, lead in an anime. Two, it's the typical growing pains when you're starting out a show. And three, this is more me personally. The fact that I did not know who the fuck this person is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because I'm not used to... AJ is the only one in this show, probably with the exception of, John, who plays Akun? Yeah, John, who plays Akun. Where I never heard this person in my life, so I'm trying to figure out what this person sounds like, what their tone of voice is, how they portray the character. So it takes me a little bit of time to kind of see if I can get into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's a few different factors with me personally, figuring out AJ as an actor. I think taking the major part of that.
And I think it may have also just been a little bit of him trying to get into the character as well.
No, 100%. The normal growing pains. Because Lordy Takemichi is all over the place.
Yeah.
He goes from... He can be a tough little shit, cocky little shit sometimes, to being this washout, rock bottom guy, especially when you go to present day Takemichi.
Also, not gonna lie, there are moments where he's a bit of a weenie.
He's very much a weenie. He can be a weenie. There are parts where he's very emotional. He is referred to several times as the crybaby hero, mostly by Akun, but he's referred to as the crybaby a lot. Because Takemichi cries a lot.
To each, the whole weenie thing didn't bother me too much most of the time. I think the only time it maybe actively bothered me was during the Bloody Halloween, right when Baji died, and he's watching Mikey slugging out with Kagatora. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, to be fair, Takemichi at that point thinks it's game over. And then Baji just happens to have this one last bit of energy to him, and he's like, shit, okay. But, no, yeah, Takemichi as a character goes through he goes through a lot of emotions, but he also has the biggest character growth because
Oh, absolutely.
He not only is trying to change the past to save the people he cares about in the future, because initially it's Hinata, but then he also grows to care about, like, Mikey and Draken and all these other characters he interacts with. But he's also trying to change himself. He's trying to quite literally have a redemption arc for himself, in a way. Because he's this washed out, pathetic loser at the start of the show, and by the end of at least this first season, and with everything that he's done so far, he's gained a little bit more confidence in himself. He has accomplished quite a few goals, including being the first division captain for Tomon now.
Yeah.
And he has actually gained the respect of several individuals, including Mikey and Draken.
To which this is more. Again, it's not like a serious complaint about the show. I guess it's just kind of like me thinking in terms of like, I guess, general progression. I don't know, in regards to maybe something else like, I don't know, like say Kingdom or something, where I know like Takemichi's goal here is to like climb through the ranks to the top of Tomon.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hoping it was going to be like a little bit more of a gradual rise, like maybe instead of like, jumping immediately to like first division captain, he was like the vice captain or something. But like, it definitely does make the twist at the end of the season work well. So
Yeah.
So I can't complain too much in that respect. It's kind of like, I would have, maybe liked it with like maybe a slower rise.
I mean, it could also be potentially what could also be happening as well is the first season, because I tried to dig this up for a second, because about the manga. The first season covers about 8 or 9 volumes of the manga.
That's not terrible.
That's not.
It's not terrible, but that might mean there's more to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, 8 or 9 volumes and 24 episodes is about right for a shonen manga, so I don't think they were rushing anything.
No, I mean, there could still just be more pieces that we don't know, and it could be just a little bit more gradual. It makes me want to read the fucking manga now. That's for fucking sure.
It may also just be that, like, there's a very tight timeline in which, like, his childhood gang arc can realistically go on for, so he may have just had to rush it.
Yeah, because the arc about Takemichi with the childhood gang was very fast. Just mostly in flashbacks, really, so that could be a piece that might have been dragged out a little bit more, so we can get a little bit more of a feel for Takemichi's character, as well as all the other people in the crew, including Akun, actually. But no, like, Takemichi's quite literally trying to get himself a redemption arc throughout the course of this show. And I couldn't help but root for him, honestly. I couldn't help but root for him to try and change himself for the better. And just his interactions with all of these characters and the impact he has on these characters. He is compared to, by both Mikey and Baji, and Draken, I think, to be like Mikey's older brother who was killed. And Mikey really cares about his brother.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, if that doesn't have implications, I think, then I don't know what will. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So, Takemichi is rather believable as this pathetic little loser who just wants to better himself and try to save the people he cares about. Because this is a show that's mostly set in 2005, and of course it's going to be really corny and cheesy at points. Because of course it is. But no, like, aside from, I think, small growing pains and my personal, like, trying to figure out AJ Beckles as an actor, I think the performance for Takemichi works really well. It's not my favorite from the whole show, but I think it's more because of the fact that I don't know AJ very well.
Yeah.
And then comparing him to some of these other actors where some of these other actors have really fantastic performances that are probably potentially some of my favorite of these actors in their actual careers, which says a lot. And AJ's still a fresh face to me. So
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Honestly, yeah, a bit of that, he sounded kind of rough at first, could just very well be, neither you nor I had a baseline for him yet.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, my only baseline for him prior to this was, like, the couple of episodes of Community and I saw. But I'm just saying that, like, from my perspective, at least for, like, the first couple of episodes, I thought his performance was, like, the strongest of the bunch, so that just kind of carried.
He does carry it, yes.
And I mean,
so that's just kind of like, cemented him as like the definitive, I guess, performance in my mind, and that didn't change too much throughout the show. Though I did like a lot of the ensemble.
See, because I had the opposite, so I did Tokyo Revengers first, and I had watched at least the first half of the show, or what was available at the time when I watched it, and then I went to Kimono Jiken. So I had the reverse of you, but I will say between Takemichi and then Shiki in Kimono Jihen, I really do like him as Takemichi a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know what's
I also
for him now.
don't want the fact that I'm saying, oh yeah, he was rough the first couple episodes to say I didn't like his performance in the first couple episodes. I really did.
It's an impeccable performance. He sounded good in basically everything I've heard him in. He was pretty good at Kimono Jihen. He was good here. He was good in Shaman King. Like, I really want to see him in more stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to
haven't
see
seen
where his
Shaman
career goes.
Absolutely, I'm excited for him, man. Like, and he's the sweetest thing. He was so nice when we talked to him at Anime NYC too.
Yeah, he's great.
I feel bad I didn't get anything signed, but one, there was nothing available that I bought that I could, and then two, I was unemployed and broke as shit.
Yeah, I have a print somewhere that.
Oh yeah, you got Takemichi, I think, right?
I don't even think the Shaman King casting was out at the time. Otherwise, I would have had him like maybe signed by Shaman King set.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because the re-release from Discotheque happened, I think, at that time, but the new Shaman King dub wasn't a thing yet.
Okay, no, it was, but I don't think it was up to where like Jocko was introduced. So I didn't think I knew
gotcha.
who was playing him at the time.
I'm not familiar with Shaman King really, so sorry. It was on my list to try and watch before Dubbies, but I never got to it. Just like I never got to seasons 2 and 3 of Kuroko. Whoops.
I might want to fix that one.
I know. I'm aware. I didn't have time.
C'est la vie.
Especially since I started the new job in January.
Yeah.
Anyway, AJ's great.
Yeah.
AJ's great. Aside from my personal trying to figure this person out. AJ's great. I want to see AJ in more things.
Like, yeah, he ended up with a really strong foundation here, and it absolutely showed. So I'm going to go ahead and move us on to final thoughts. So who would like to go first?
Guess I'll go real quick. I had a pretty fun time at Tokyo Revengers. I mean, in general, I do kind of like the whole delinquent aesthetic in, like, anime and manga, and I feel like you don't get a lot of that these days, so that had me interested in the show in general. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. The time travel plot is like a little wonky here and there, but it's a pretty good time, and I like a lot of these characters. They're a lot of fun, and the dub is pretty solid. It has some wonkiness here and there that kind of makes it sound like a mid-2000s dub in a sense, but that also is kind of weirdly charming in its own way. And I definitely do like the majority of the performances here. And the ones that are really strong, so I can't complain too much there. All in all, it is a good time, and it's definitely a pretty solid show. I'm excited to see more of it.
All right. What you got, Steph?
Oh boy. So weirdly enough, this is Tokyo Revengers is a show I didn't expect to like as much as I do. I actually the only reason I originally decided to watch this show was because of Alex Lee's Mikey and the shit in the clips I heard about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. And then just the whole show, I 100% understand why people are obsessed with this. To the point where people are like, when is the manga gonna get physical releases? And that whole debacle of the licensing that went on for months.
Mm-hmm.
But I completely understand. Like, this is one of those shows that I do want to, like, start reading the manga for 100%, and that's rare for me. Like, if a show makes me want to go, like, okay, I need to read the manga now, then you done good. The show aside, the dub, I really, really like it. There are some minor gripes here and there, and then you have some really fun, amazing performances that it's again, I can't pick a best boy. They're all good boys except for Kiseki. Kiseki can fucking die in a fire. He can fucking die. But that's also credit to the actor who voices him, because again, it's one of those situations I want to punt him into the sun. You done good. But I think this is definitely one of a very solid dub that has a lot of charm to it, a lot of fun banter, and it's just has those moments of grit and, to an extent, some realism to it that I think really make it stand out very well. And it has amazing performances that, again, I can't pick a favorite from, but I can say that they are probably some of my favorite performances of certain actors' careers at this stage, including one Mr. AJ Beckles that I haven't heard much from, but want to see more from. So overall, like, I 100% understand why people are obsessed with this fucking show. If you haven't seen this show or this dub yet, please do. It is a delight. Aside from the weird story plot elements, you're gonna love it. Fucking, why can't I go tell Hina that I can time travel? Bitch, she's not gonna believe you. Then why'd you believe me? I was into the occult. Never brought up again. But no, it's a fun time. You'll enjoy it, and I have to go read the manga now. Like, that's gonna be a fun investment.
I'm gonna be honest, like, this show was for front and center within my wheelhouse, and I'm surprised it took me until, like, right after Anime NYC in order to actually start it. The dub is really, for all the gripes and nitpicks I have, which are also relatively minor, like, it is extremely solid. Very well written, very well performed, very well directed. Other than some of the double and triple casting, the casting was really solid. It is a very raw and emotional show, and I did not expect that going in.
Yeah.
I expected it to be kind of jolly and goofy, and then just, like, absolute roughneck, but wow. It actually has quite a bit of emotional complexity to it. There are admittedly elements that you should probably not think about too hard, but other than that, like, this is a very, very solid recommend. And if you would like to check out Tokyo Revengers, it is available via Crunchyroll.
Woohoo!
I think the subscription fee is like $7 a month. You get like a 2-week free trial. But you do have to put your credit card in, so if it's not your thing, you are gonna have to cancel. Otherwise, you will get charged.
As a side note, at the time of recording this, I don't know if this will change. How I watched it, it is still available on Verve.
Okay, well, I think that's also... So you're probably going to get a little more bang for your buck with your Crunchyroll subscription, because Funimation is folding all of its content into it. So...
Yeah.
I'm a sad panda. We won't get into that.
I'm a little sentimental, but yeah. It is also available via HBO Max.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I think that's like $15 a month, and then there's this like an ad-supported one that's a little cheaper. So yeah, that is where you can find that. If you would like to find us, you're probably either watching this via our YouTube feed or audio only. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you can find us at youtube.com/DuckDuckPodcast, where we have a little more extra content than our audio only feed. If you are watching this via YouTube, we do have the podcast available via, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we're also looking into additional avenues in which to post it, so keep an eye out on that. Get your Dev Talk on the go. Get it on your commute. We also have a Twitter account where we mainly just, we post our announcements, and we try to ask questions every now and again out of it to get some interaction going. Mm-hmm. We have a Tumblr, but that is dead.
Yup.
And we have a Twitch account, which the three of us on this episode do stream on it a couple of days a week. I know I have Saturday. Jet is, I believe, Thursday?
Yes.
And then Steph and Andrew are Sunday.
Yeah, at the time of recording this, we're finally going to be streaming again on Sunday after my computer has been out of commission for a goddamn month, so we're excited about that. Andrew is ready to finish the Somnium Files. He's been ready for a fucking month. He's itching to finish the game, finally.
Yeah, in general...
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. In general, we try to have a stream like every day except Friday, which is when the podcast goes live.
Yep.
We try to be consistent about that. We usually kind of have a little bit of a patchwork, but it is what it is.
We do what we can. Also, if you miss any of our streams, we do have our Dub Talk Gaming archive channel where our VODs migrate to eventually.
Yes. Yeah, that's Dub Talk Gaming, right?
Correct.
Like youtube.com/ There we go. If you would like to give us a little bit of support, we do have a Ko-fi account where you can give us like a one-time donation. And we also have a Patreon. And at the end of all of our episodes, we like to give a little bit of a shout-out toward those who have decided to contribute to the show. At our $5 tier, we have Julia W., Michelle Travis, Nico Robin, but with the Owians, and Victor Myperota. At our $10 tier, we have Anthony Brown, Carly Lesticow, Crimson Echidna, Jacob Wilson, Jared Hawkins, Marissa Lenti, and Otaku Anthony. Thank you guys. We genuinely appreciate the support, and we strive to create the best podcast episodes we can conceivably get out to you. So if you would like to see what we are up to, why don't you guys give yourself a basic plug?
Sure. I am Jet. You can usually find me on the Twitters at the Bodega, where I will usually be talking about animation-related news or world news, or just whatever is going on, I guess. You can also find me another podcast O&A, where usually we talking about anime news alongside fellow Dub Talk host Andrew.
All right, Steph, where can we find you?
Oh boy. My name is Steph, sometimes known as Lilac. You can follow me on Twitter at Lilac Anime Review, with review being spelled R-E-V-U-E. I have a blog, lifeandtimesToTalk.wordpress.com, that has been gathering dust, and I need to do something at some point. Yeah, that's about it. Aside from previously mentioned, I do some streaming on Twitch sometimes. That's about it.
Right.
I've been busy with work.
Yeah. Alright, so I am Patrick, aka Roots of Justice. You can find me on the twitter.com at Roots of Justice. Mainly retweet cute animal pics, talk general fandom. It's a good time, you should come pay me a visit. And I've got a Patrick's Cool Thing of the Day for you.
Is it bad that I just thought of a theme song in my head for that now? Patrick's Cool Thing of the Day.
So generally I try to avoid music with my Patrick's Cool Thing of the Day because I don't want to muscle in on Amon's territory with this dusty song. So instead of a song, I'm going to go with an entire album.
Okay.
It is one that I kind of bought it on a whim, and then, like, it has just been a frequent, put the record on, and just, if I need background noise, there it is. It is from a group called, Desert Sands Feel Warm at Night, and the album is called, New World Pioneer, I think is what it's called. It's basically like slush wave. It sounds a lot like mall lobby music, but it's just absolutely soothing. All right, and with that, I think this episode is a wrap.
Okay. We need to do... I'm sorry, Patrick. I'm not letting go of the fact that I lost to fucking Ramshambo. I'm still salty.
Fine.
I'm still salty, so I think I need a fucking rematch.
So, Rochambeau to close the episode?
Fuck yeah!
Rochambeau.
Rochambeau. Fuck! I fucking quit. I'm going home. Motherfucker.
I've been cheating at Rochambeau.
Fucking asshole.
Thank you for joining us tonight. You all have a wonderful evening. And otaku wan there, Deba.
Bye, have a good night.
And click.